what's up, and welcome back to my channel. Now today I'm going to be giving a review for the graphic novel Gotham Central, and this is also called Gotham Central Omnibus because this collects the entire Gotham Central comic storyline or comic book series like storyline from late 2002 to 2006. So yeah, I have always been wanting to read this, and it's a very massive read. As you can see, this is a massive graphic novel. If I'm not mistaken, I think this is like the largest one that I do have in my collection. Well, one of them, you know, because it's almost 1,000 pages. It's like a 900, it's like over 900 pages. So I've been reading this for like a while, you know. But I did decide to get this a particular my own review on it, and it was a pretty good read because this rare, you know, it focused like on the GCPD. It focuses on like the Gotham Police Department and like the situations and like the responsibilities that they have to deal with, and at the same time like Batman's kind of there, and he's actually in this more than I thought he would be. And I know this is also like I think inspiration for the Gotham television series, even though the Gotham television series is really like a prequel to like before like Batman became Batman, like he was actually Bruce Wayne, like a younger Bruce Wayne on his journey to becoming Batman, you know. But this particular story, it does have Batman within it. Like I mentioned, like just like earlier right there, he's actually in this more than I thought he would be. Like Batman, he does make like a lot of appearances in this particular tale. But it does deal with like the corruptness of the GCPD and all the various different situations like that, and like a lot of like members of like the Batman Rose Guy, they do make appearances in this book too. But most of it is like dealing with like the police, like dealing with like regular, like normal, like criminals, like everyday criminals, you know, like burglaries, I think like that, kidnappers and serial killers and stuff like that. And at times some of the stories in here could be very interesting, and I think like some of the characters that really stood out, I guess probably like the main one that really stood out from my opinion was Montoya, you know, Remain Montoya, who's like used to be partners with Bullock. So apparently in this particular story, Bullock, I think has I think he left the GCPD, if I can remember. Was he retired? Because I know Commissioner Gordon is retired in this particular tale too as well, but they're still around. But like Bullock has left, and I like when they kind of deal with the Montoya character, because it turns out, and I know I don't want to get into this too much, but she's actually like a lesbian, and I didn't even know that until just like a couple years ago that Montoya was like really like a lesbian. I didn't know that because she even has like a female counterpart that she has like a love interest in, where she's actually like her love interest, because like a lot of people, even like people that work in the GCPD, like Gotham, you know, City Police Department, are kind of against her being in a relationship with like another woman, because like a lot of the guys, they be complaining about her, like how she's with a woman and all that kind of stuff. Like even like her own family, like her own father and mother, at one point definitely her father, because he owns like the restaurant in this particular tale. He disowns her, he don't want her to come around and stuff like that. But I won't spoil the whole story. But those kind of arcs in this particular thing, it's like a long story, but just like her part of it, I thought was very good. And just Montoya in general was one of like the strongest like characters, I believe, in this particular tale. But like I say, you have other people like this partner she has known as Chris. I forget what his whole name is. Crispus Allen. But I think she mostly called him Chris, because that's who she ends up really being like partner with once Bullock is out of it. And Bullock does make an appearance, and it's like a very small appearance. But I thought like characters like that, there's our other ones too as well. It's like now I think that's what kind of threw it off too, to a certain extent. It's like tons of like characters, you know. It's like just 2 minutes, like wow. And then I don't know if it's like the way the people are drawing or the artists, and the art is good enough. Like a lot of them, they're just like it's like one character, they're just like how the other character looked at, but it was like an entirely different person. I was not the same like character. So I think that kind of threw it off at times for me. And I already know if I just kept reading like over and over, like read this like again, like all 900 pages again, like just keep reading over, of course it will really all come together, you know. But like I said, like a lot of the roles, member of like Batman's like role guy, they show up. Like a lot of the villains, like Joker, they make appearances. Penguin, Mr. Freeze. Mr. Freeze kind of has like an appearance at the very beginning of the story. So he's like, those are some of like the villains that show up. Even like other ones, you know, make appearances like Poison Ivy, Catwoman. I don't want to touch on that, but it does still focus on like the very like realistic type of criminals and like enemies that the police department have to like deal with, and even like the corruptness of how the police are and stuff like that too as well. And like I said, Montoya's story, like some of the stories be broken down in issues. I think her story had like 3 issues. hers was like a very strong tale, because I told you about like how her father disowned her, and the people at the police department complaining about her being like in a relationship with like another woman. I didn't even know that about her until a few years ago, and there's no question this is when they went with the idea that Montoya was like, you know, like out or like a lesbian was in this particular story. But there are like other ones too that's in here too that I want to touch on. I just leave it at that, but it's like it's so much. It's like it's a really good read. I'm not gonna lie. Like a lot of points, it's like some highs and some lows, because there are moments and there are some stories that I didn't think were too good, but like at times, most of the time it was pretty cool, getting like a good look at just them, you know. And like I say, Batman does like make appearances, and he was actually in here more than I thought. And there was kind of one tale in here that I thought was kind of curious too as well. It gets kind of towards like the end of the book, and it was like a 4-issue one too. Like this one collected 4 issues. It was about like these Robins that were showing like Robin supposedly had died. They found this person like as Robin. They thought it really was Robin, like when they were investigating it, but then it turns out another Robin shows up dead too as well. So somebody's like apparently killing Robins or dressing them as Robin, then like another one, you know, and so on. So I thought that particular tale was kind of interesting, because one of the things I thought was kind of unique about it, interesting about it, there was a Robin that actually did die, like the Jason Todd Robin, you know, in the past, he actually did die, because I think this was even before, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, Red Hood wasn't even around yet when they did this particular tale with the Robin. So right there, you know, they were kind of hitting that idea that a Robin did die. They knew that a Robin did die. Wow, you know, that'd be kind of interesting. But yeah, it was also a good tale with a Bullock, and this was the only stories that he was in. I think his lasted about like 3 or 4 issues, like, and you get to see him like with Montoya again for a moment, but it was like kind of really short. But it was the idea that these kids were like killed like in what was it? Was it like an explosion or a fire or something like that? Like in his past, and it was like one of the cases that a Bullet could never solve, and he always kind of had like, he was always kind of hurt about it, you know. Then it turns out the person who did this was still around, and ended up finding out about him and stuff like that. But it was a pretty good read. There's also like a story for Two-Face and Montoya. He even knew about Montoya. The Mad Hatter shows up. Like I said, I just leave it at that. I don't want to go into it too much, because there are like a bunch of like different like stories, like serial killers and stuff that they have to deal with. I like when they do deal with like the realistic type people, and not like the super villains like the Joker and stuff like that. Yeah, I must admit it does turn to be pretty solid then. And like I was saying, Batman does make more appearances in this particular tale than I thought he would. You know, he does show up a lot. Like in a lot of these, he's still like kind of on the side, but he does like make appearances, because there's at one point like the new commissioner of the GCPD, you know, it's not Gordon, it's like another guy, and he's black too. He has him take out the back signal. He don't want the back signal up. He don't want them calling him Batman, because Batman is involved in something that they thought was kind of bad. So he no longer wants the GCP to call him. So stories like that are pretty good too, and they're very like realistic. But yeah, this is a massive read. That's why they call these like Omnibus, because it collects the whole Gotham Central storyline. This is like the whole storyline connected from like 2002 to early 2006. So yeah, I think it's definitely a solid read. There are some dragging moments and like some pacing issues with it, and I think like the art probably could have been better, but it's pretty good. And like I say, one of the things I think was kind of holding it back too is just like tons of like, I can't even touch on all the characters that I want to touch on, because it was just like so many of them. Some of them I do want to touch on, I thought were pretty cool, but I just leave it at that, you know. But I'm gonna give this Gotham Central, I kind of want to give it a solid B, because it really is, I think, a pretty good read. It's like very long. I like that it's so long and massive. Like I said, I'm already looking forward to reading this whole book over again, because I like when they're like long. I like to just read it over and over and keep on connecting more and adding up stuff, like the clues and everything like that. Like keep on, like it get more and more involved with me, you know. I'd be able to see things more better and more clearly when I read it more and more. So I'm going to give it I think I just give it like a solid B. I feel like it's really like a B minus, but I'm going to give it a solid B. I definitely think it's worth a read, especially if you want to see the side of like Gotham City, like Gotham City, where the GCPD, if you really want to see what's going on with them, and then they have to deal with Batman too at the same time and stuff like that. I think it's definitely a pretty solid read. So yeah, I want to touch on the writers and all that, because it's like a bunch of them, like an artist and stuff like that. But I'm gonna give it just a solid B. Please leave a comment and subscribe too as well.